Hello and welcome to Chapter 10, Lesson 6. Today we're going to be talking about multiplying fractions. Multiplying fractions is similar to multiplying a whole number and a fraction. To multiply fractions, we need to multiply the numerators and denominators. I was noticing when I was looking at some of your work that we're forgetting to multiply both the numerator and the denominator when we're finding common denominators to add. Okay, you need to do that, otherwise they are not equivalent fractions and you're completely changing the size of the piece, you're completely changing everything if you only do one. Okay, so let's get working here. Example 1, Franco ate some pizza. 2/3 of a pizza is left. Deandra ate 3/4 of, remember I was talking about that of usually means multiplying, of the leftover pizza. How much of the whole pizza did Deandra eat? So we need to find 3/4 of multiply 2/3. Okay? One way is we could multiply first, then simplify. So that's kind of what we've been doing. I've been holding out this little trick on you because I didn't want to confuse anybody too soon. Hopefully this doesn't confuse you now, but anyway, so multiply numerators. 3 times 2 is 6. Multiply denominators. 4 times 3 is 12, so we would have 6/12. Well, that's not simplified. I can divide both by 6. So I'm going to divide the numerator and denominator by 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1. 12 divided by 6 is 2. So she ate half of the whole pizza. Whoa. She must have been hungry. Oh, of the leftover. Well, half of the whole pizza, it says. Okie dokie. Another way is we could simplify first. So notice how if I have 3/4, and if I extend it, and I have 2/3, and I'm multiplying, notice how I have a 3 over here and a 3 over here. I could divide them. Oh, my pen's not wanting to work. I could divide them both by 3 and get 1. So I cross off and get 1, cross off and get 1. Okay, and then if I look at my 2 and my 4, I can divide those both by 2. So divide by 2, I'd get 1. Divide by 2, and I'd get 2. So now what I'm doing is 1 times 1, which is 1, and 2 times 1, which is 2, which would just be 1/2. Now, when I'm simplifying first, I can only simplify up and down or diagonally. So up and down or diagonally. I absolutely cannot simplify across like this. This I cannot simplify. Okay, write that down in your notes somewhere. Do not simplify across, but I can simplify up and down or diagonally. Up and down or diagonally, never across. Okay, so for example, sometimes kids might think if I'm doing 3/4 times 3/4, I cannot say, oh, divide by 3, divide by 3. Does not work that way. Okay, so cannot do that. We can only go up and down and across. Would you like me to say it 5 more times, or are you going to write it in your notebook? Okay, good. Write it in your notebook because I don't want to say it 5 more times. Okay, so on the top up here it says to find the area of a rectangle, we multiply the length and a width. Okay, so find the area of the rectangle with a length of 3/4 inches. Here we go. Here's our rectangle with 3/4 inch and a width of 5/9 inch. 5/9 inch. Here's our rectangle. So if I'm going to multiply 5/9 times 3/4, what on earth? Tile the rectangle as part of a unit square. So this is kind of what we did when we were doing hands-on. which is really, I would not ever in a million years choose this way. I just multiply them. Okay, so I'm going to look. Again, I can see if I could simplify across. Look at this. I can. I can divide the 3 by 3 and get 1, and the 9 by 3 and get 3. Okay, notice how I have to divide them by the same number, and I have to do both the numerator and the denominator. 5 and 4, can I simplify that? Nope. So now I'm going to do 1 times 5 is 5. And 4 times 3 is 12. 5/12 is what I should get for an answer. Now, if you don't like doing the simplify first, which let me tell you, you will start to like it the more you use it, then we can just do multiply numerators. 5 times 3 is 15. 4 times 9 is 36. I notice I can divide them both by 3, which is what we did when we simplified first. We divided 3 and 9 by 3. So if I divide by 3, I am making a division sign, it's just my dots aren't showing up. Divide by 3, I would get 5. 36 divided by 3 is 12. 5/12. Okay, so I got the same if I simplified first as if I simplified last. So like I said, I tend to enjoy simplifying first because then I don't have to multiply such large numbers and then divide. I'm dividing smaller numbers. I'm simplifying with smaller numbers as opposed to bigger numbers. So the area of the rectangle is 5/12 square inches, which is less than 1 inch, right? 5/12 is less than 1 inch. It's about half an inch. Multiply and write in simplest form. Okay, so I have 4/9 times 3/8. Look at this. I can divide by 4 and divide by 4 to get 1 and 2. And I can divide by 3, divide by 3 to get 3 and 1. So now I'm doing 1 times 1 is 1. 3 times 2 is 6. So my answer is 1/6. Okay, so the next one I'm going to do in blue writing is 3/4 times 5/8. Now look, this one I cannot do any simplifying beforehand. None of this simplifies, so I'm going to have to multiply numerators. 5 times 3 is 15, and multiply denominators. 4 and 8 makes 32. So because I couldn't simplify anything at the beginning, it also means I'm not going to be able to simplify later. But I'll still think to myself, okay, 15 and 32, the only two numbers I know that multiply 15, well, there's 1 and 15, and 3 and 5. And 3 and 5 do not go into 32. 15 does not go into 32. So I know that they are simplified. So my answer is 15/32s. Okay. Let's see. I think I need to get a different color here. Like purple. Purple sounds great. Okay. So here I have 1/8 times 3/4. Again, if I'm looking cross and up and down, I cannot see anything that I can simplify. So I'm just going to have to multiply numerators, multiply denominators. 1 times 3 is 3. 8 times 4 is 32. 3/32s, I know that 3 does not go into 32 and 3 is a prime number, so that is simplified. Alrighty. 3/5 times 1/3. Okay, if I look crosswise here, I can divide by 3, divide by 3, and get 1 and 1. So now I'm doing 1 times 1 is 1. And 5 times 1 is 5. So my answer here would be 1/5. Next one. 5/7 times 1/4, making that kind of bow tie motion with my pen, and I do not see anything I can simplify, so I'm going to multiply numerators. 5 times 1 is 5, and 7 times 4 is 28. So 5/28 is what my answer would be. Okay, and lastly here, 7/8 times 2/9. I notice 2 and 8 I can simplify. Divide by 2, divide by 2. So I would get 1. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 7 times 1 is 7. 4 times 9 is 36. 7/36. All right, here we have some algebra. We want to write an equation to solve the next two problems. Carrie ate some of the oranges that her mother brought home from the grocery store. Of the oranges her mother bought, 1/4 were left over. Shyla, Carrie's sister, ate 2/5 of the oranges that were left over. What fraction of the oranges did she eat? So what we're trying to find is, what is 2/5 of 1/4? All right, so what I'm looking at here is, let's say there we do our 10 and 2. So let's say the mother had 10 left over. Oops, my pen turned off here. Oh, looks like it's dead. Lovely. Okay, so let's say there were 10 left over and she ate 2/5. Let's even put 1/2. She ate half of them that were left over. What would I do? 10 times 1/2, which we remember is the same as 10 divided by 2 to say that she ate, 5. She ate 5, yeah. Right? So if I think of it with numbers I'm comfortable working with, like whenever it's fraction, like replace half. We're so good at finding half of things that sometimes you don't even realize you're dividing by 2. Okay, so if you're ever stuck on, what am I supposed to do here? Am I supposed to be subtracting? Am I supposed to be adding? If you can't replace with 10 and 2, then replace with half. Okay, so let's remember, of means multiply, so I'm doing 2/5 times 1/4. Okay, so I notice I can reduce. I can divide by 2, and that would be 1. That would be 2, so I'm doing 1 times 1, which is 1. And 5 times 2, 5 times 2, which is 2. So she ate half of the oranges. Okay, it's kind of easy to know today that we're supposed to be multiplying fractions because that's kind of what we're doing the whole time. But if you're ever stuck and you get a problem where you don't know what to do, replace the numbers, and that should really help you. Okay, find the area of the rectangle shown. So when we find area, remember we're multiplying two adjacent sides. Adjacent is a fancy word for two sides that meet at a corner or a vertex. So I need to do 4/5 times 1/3. I don't see anything I can simplify. So I'm going to multiply 4 times 1, 5 times 3, 15, 4/15, and 4 I know is the factors are 1, 2, and 4. And 1, 2, and 4. 1 does go into 15, but that's not going to get us anywhere. So the area is 4/15 feet squared. Okay, feet squared, because we're talking area. Identify structure. Complete the steps to show how 4/5 times 5/6 can also be found using properties and equivalent fractions. Okay, so I multiply them. Now look what they did. They switched the 5 and the 4 around. What's that called where we can switch around? Hopefully you're at home yelling, commutative property, Mrs. Hamer. You're right. Commutative property is absolutely correct. We're switching them around. Because now look at 5 over 5 is the same as 1. So look, we cancel them out. Cancel, cancel. So we're left with 4/6. What property are we using here? I don't have a clue what property we're using here. What are they showing? Equals 1. So I simplified. Maybe it's the identity property that 5 divided by 5 is 1. Going with that. Identity property. Okay, and then we're going to simplify where we're dividing them both by 2. Yeah, that must be what it is. 5 divided by 5 equals 1. The 5 divided by 5. Any number divided by itself equals 1. So identity property. Then we can simplify, write another example that we use the same properties for each step. This video is long enough, so I'm going to skip that. Test practice. James made flashcards for 5/6 of the vocabulary words. Loretta made half of the amount of cards that James made. So now we're trying to find what is half of 5/6, which that of means multiply. So I'm going to do 1/2 times 5/6. I'm following, don't see anything that I can reduce. So I'm going to multiply numerators, 5. Multiply denominators, 12. 5/12. Can I reduce it? Nope. Only factors of 5 are 1 and 5, and 1 and 5, well, 1 does, but 5 does not go into 12, so I cannot reduce. There we go. We're done. I hope you enjoy multiplying in fractions as much as I do. Good luck on your assignment. Let me know if you need any help. Bye.